Cameras are important in any game. They let us see what's going on, like a boss battle. Although, when it comes to Dark Souls, the seeing part feels neglected at times. The solution? Kill the cameraman. Since the cameraman got into a terrible truck accident and is now living his best life in anime with a title that is 50 words long, who will operate the camera? That's right. Today, I'm the cameraman, meaning I'm going to beat Dark Souls 3 while constantly in Freecam. The problem being, it's hard controlling all aspects of the camera while operating your character. Oftentimes, you're going to be completely blind while wondering where the hell your character is. The answer is they fell off a cliff when you weren't watching. If you've ever used Freecam on keyboard, you'd know that it's a nightmare to use. We of course have our movement keys that are begging for the sweet release of death, and our mouse, which would normally control the camera and let us attack. However, Freecam adds 2 extra movement aspects related to the camera, and I, unfortunately, don't have 2 extra hands. Not until the robot uprising, at least. So, between managing moving my character, moving the camera, and attacking, I'm going to be spread pretty thin. Before we start, quick clarification of the rules. I'm not allowing quit outs because it would kind of defeat the purpose of this run. Being able to safely quit out and not deal with the consequences of moving the camera into a proper position just wouldn't be fun. And while we must constantly be in Freecam for this challenge, due to some cutscenes, deaths, and fast travel breaking it, I will have to reset the Freecam for those moments. With that, let's find out if you can beat Dark Souls 3 if the cameraman is dead. It's gonna be one of those days, huh? Let's talk Freecam speed. The intended use of Freecam is to get specific cinematic shots, which is why it's slow and controllable. However, if it's always this slow, it makes this challenge very boring. You don't want to watch and see me move the camera at the speed of snail. It's just not fun. Luckily, we can manually adjust the speed. Just, it isn't easy. You have to go into the commands and manually type out the speed value you want, so it can only be adjusted safely outside of combat. And if we have a higher speed that allows us to quickly adjust where the camera is, it's very imprecise, and often you just have to deal with wherever the camera ends up. Just one of the problems that comes with being a cameraman, I suppose. Gundyr is an easy enough fight that our top-down view doesn't make that much of a difference. Although, there are points during the second phase where my character is completely obscured by his transformation. Luckily, because of how much I've fought Gundyr, not being able to see what I'm doing doesn't matter that much, although for some harder bosses that take up more space, being able to see is very important. Although being able to see is important in general. But that's a problem for later in this challenge. It's also worth noting that I can't change the speed of the camera turning, although it's not that slow, but it'll become a problem in any scenarios where you have to turn it fast. I level up a bit and then proceed to try to do the tree jump to get the silver serpent ring. However, it proves to be troublesome. Normally, you'd use the camera to get the correct angle, but since we can't move the camera and our character precisely enough at the same time, we have to rely purely on directional inputs to get a feeling for how to do the skip at an angle. However, after enough time, I somehow managed to get the skip, and then carefully walk across the rafters to claim my rewards. Lothric Castle. Trying to maneuver through this place is difficult to say the least, especially near the dragon. Playing Dark Souls this way kind of makes it feel like one of those old school top-down games. I can't tell you quite how whack it feels to control, but it's trippy as hell. But not in a bad way. It's honestly fun seeing the game from a different angle after so many hours. Also worth noting that the effect that happens when you rest at a bonfire is actually a box, so when your camera isn't inside of it, this is what it looks like from the outside. Really neat. And then, time for Vort. Mr. Chunky Boy here makes it hard to get good camera angles. If you're down too low on the ground and Vort gets in the way, all you're going to be seeing is his ass. So the safest place is a top-down view. However, if you're underneath Vort, which we often are, we face the same issue of, where the hell is the Ashen One now? The answer is being beaten half to death by a big doggo. Eventually, I managed to pull through, even though I'm close to death. Well, with the omen of almost dying to Vort looming over me, I head to grab the banner. After getting my revenge on Emma, I move in the wrong direction and accidentally aggro the dancer, which gives me a very funny revelation. Since the cameraman is dead, I fully control the cutscene camera as well. Which is really neat to see how it works in the game. Like, the door physically closes. It isn't just an animation that plays, and the dancer really drops from the ceiling. Just a very interesting look at how the cutscenes work in this game, because if it was just a video file that triggered, you wouldn't be able to move your camera during it. Or maybe you would. I'm not a game designer, but I feel like the Dark Souls 3 dev team needs to get a round of applause for how they did the cutscenes. My respect for them only deepens. Of course, can't let that distract me from the dancer. While winning here would be nice, the lack of good directional inputs combined with our weird camera angle proves to be a bit much, and I end up dying. But that does mean we get to see how the banner cutscene looks like. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. I try to get a top-down view, but unfortunately the trees are blocking my vision. We just have to go for a closer to ground view then. This seemed to fix most of the problems, but the tree limbs still got in the way sometimes. No matter, we make it through safely and get to choose between the Sage and the Abyss Watchers. I decide that the Abyss Watchers would be more fun to fight, we just have to get there first. After getting the satisfaction of not having to reset after an enemy dies to gravity, I try to navigate through the swamp. But between trees blocking my side again and the Ashen One being difficult to spot, the top-down view wasn't a good choice for navigation. So instead, I tried just following my character to the best of my ability. By taking a route that didn't aggro enemies, I safely got to a fire and witnessed my character disappear in the middle of a cutscene. After filing a missing persons report, I grab my favorite weapon, the greatsword, and light the remaining fires around the area, finally making my way to the bonfire before the Abyss Watchers, lighting it instead of fighting it like last time. Hey, Abyss Watchers, hate to break it to you, but who are you pointing towards? There is nobody there. Or fine, just ignore me, keep on aura farming, don't mind me. One of the good things about Freecam is because we can take a top-down view, we can actually see the position of all the Abyss Watchers at the same time. The problem with this, however, is we can't see what they're doing very well. Moreover, since I can't judge the distance properly, I whiff a lot of attacks I would normally hit. But what if I could press a button and likely hit the boss without judging distance? To that end, I make my way up, grab the Dream Chaser's ashes, and then proceed to fight the Stray Demon. Because of how slow he is, it doesn't matter if I can't see my character, I just have to roll on time. I claim my victory and head to the side to try to kill the Titanite lizards. I only end up killing one of them though. After that, I head back to Firelink to power up. I buy a ton of Titanite, sell the Demon Soul, and buy some more Titanite. I take my Greatsword to +3, and then spend my remaining souls on levels. With that, we are powered up, looking great, and ready to defeat the Abyss Watchers. I barely killed the Abyss Watchers, with the poison killing us afterwards. I killed a mage and grabbed an undead bone shard before trying to get to Wolnir. Turns out, being chased by a horde of enemies while near a cliff is not ideal. To reduce risk, I panic roll while adjusting my camera so I don't fall off. This somehow works, and allows us to cross safely and fight Wolnir. Now, because of how many flasks we used, trying to even get to Wolnir, we have to manage our health wisely. Luckily, Wolnir himself isn't a hard fight, and our weird camera angle doesn't harm us too much. After breaking his bracelet and telling him to say hi to Cassandra for us, we descend into the depths of the demon ruins to get souls and grab large titanite shards. While I grab these shards, a quick PSA about Freecam. While there are quite a few good options for controller players, since I'm on keyboard and mouse, the process was complicated. I'll give you the cliff notes because I had some help fixing it for me, but I don't fully understand the process. But basically, the Dark Souls 3 Freecam that was compatible with keyboard and mouse, the injector for the mod was malware, but if you delete the injector in the files, the mod still works, but you have to use a separate mod that is used for the Elden Ring Freecam that is somehow compatible with the Dark Souls 3 one. That way you can inject the mod files into your active game, and thus safely launch the only Freecam compatible with keyboard and mouse. So, the TLDR here is if you're on keyboard and mouse and want to try a Freecam mod, be careful about what you're doing, or wait for a better Freecam mod. I'm not an expert in online security or modding, so I probably got some of this information wrong, but I feel like it's still very important for others to be aware of the potential danger. Okay, back to the vid. With our upgraded weapon in hand, I go into the corner of Sage's arena to give enough time to set up a decent angle. Although we can't dodge the spells efficiently, the poor Sage never stood a chance. Their health bar disappears rapidly, and I even get a good view on where the real Sage appears in the second phase. With him dead, it's time for the area I've been dreading for a while, the Cathedral. With plenty of twists and turns, and a load of enemies that want me dead, running through the area proves troublesome to say the least. But I do get some beautiful views you wouldn't normally get to see. It's always amazed me how much effort gets put into games like this, and half of everything that is rendered or designed won't ever be seen or appreciated in a normal run. Truly, maybe the binoculars are the best item in the base game of Dark Souls, allowing you to admire how, even in a world where so many have gone hollow, there is still beauty in the simple things. I make sure to kill the giants for my remaining large titanite shards, put Bitch Boy Kirk in his place, giving me some more flasks, and I kill the remaining giant so I can upgrade my weapon afterwards and fight against the deacons. You know the drill, kill the glowy deacons and then beat up the Pope. Still an easy fight, moving on. For our next boss, I'd like to upgrade our weapon, so I had to grab a coal that allows me to put the heavy infusion on my greatsword. I almost get killed by the Black Knight, but I somehow managed to win. Now, the question is, where to get the heavy gem? After infusing my weapon, I head to my rematch with the Dancer. Huh. That went way smoother than I thought it would. You know what? I'm not going to question it. Let's get a +9 weapon, shall we? After almost dying to a Lothric Knight off screen, I take my time killing all the enemies around the area so I can safely pick up the Titanite chunks. I somehow manage to roll behind the Pus of Man and safely kill him for some extra chunks, Since I needed even more chunks, I went back to Firelink Shrine and bought some firebombs. And the most important items of all, Fashion Souls. Now this is what peak Dark Souls 3 gameplay looks like.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
For some reason, the Lothric Knight won't de-aggro, but he also won't pursue me either. So he kind of just watches from a distance as I pelt the Pus of Man to death with firebombs. Although angling them correctly is very weird. I try to sneak past the knight afterwards, but it doesn't work either. However, for some reason he forgot he has a fear of heights. Don't make fun of the guy, he's trying his best. John Lothric Knight here has a very scarring, emotional backstory that I don't have time to get into, so I just book it to the Dragon Slayer's boss fight. Since the Dragon Slayer doesn't take up too much camera space, I can actually reasonably see what's going on, although dodging his two-handed swipes are a bit tricky. There is a benefit of being able to see what the Pilgrim Butterflies are doing in the fight though, so that's a bonus. Ultimately, I end up killing the Dragon Slayer first try, claiming my souls as a reward and getting my greatsword all the way up to +9. I make sure to kill the Sullivan Beast on the bridge, not only for the ring, but because otherwise he would become a pain later. Hey, thanks for watching this far. As a small YouTuber, it takes a while to make videos like these. Although I know this isn't quite as good as my No Soul run, but I wanted to relax a bit with a more funny run before hopping back into the insane stuff. And trust me, the next video won't disappoint. So if you could leave a like, subscribe, or even leave a comment, it helps out a lot and lets me and the algorithm know that you enjoyed the video. But with that out of the way, let's get back to the run you came to see, shall we? My first attempt against Pontiff doesn't go so well, so I go and take a detour to get the Pontiff the Leader 9000. That's right, the Caestus. And on my second attempt, I watch his health bar get absolutely eviscerated. I almost forgot what having good damage looks like with the past challenge runs I've been doing, but it's good for a reminder every now and then. With him dead, we get to run past the archers. I set up a high camera position, that way I can run through the entire thing without worrying about repositioning, and it works pretty well. And we arrive at Anal Londor. A beautiful place, really. And then I fight Aldrich. Well, that's ominous. I go back to Firelink to upgrade my healing and try my luck again at Aldrich. The big problem is Aldrich's hitboxes are already kind of weird, and because of how much space the boss takes up, it's difficult to dodge and see what you're doing well. Luckily, the pure damage of the greatsword at +9 is more than enough to compensate for our lack of vision and defeat the Big Mac Slug. Well, it's time to run through Irithyll Dungeon. We also get the privilege of seeing what NPC invaders move like when they aren't fully loaded in yet. God, it's beautiful! After I annihilate Alva, I progress through the dungeon, killing some of the jailers while just running past the others. I take some time to fight against the Mimic and grab an extra Estus shard. And I arrive safely at Yorm. Now, out of all of the bosses, Yorm probably takes up the most space. So to effectively see around him in the arena, the Ashen One becomes a speck of dust. Luckily, Yorm as a boss is still an easy kill. After that, we get kidnapped. Or we become invisible. Okay, at this point I think I might have lost the plot. You know what, so long as we have Fashion Souls, can anything truly harm us? I try to make my way through the Grand Archives, although moving the camera proves difficult with all the turns and ups and downs, but I've gotten more used to being the cameraman. I can feel the power of the cameraman grow more and more, and I come to a realization. Nobody can kill the cameraman. He died because he wanted to. because the title of cameraman is not a blessing, but a curse. A curse to always have a front row seat to a fight, to a relaxing meal, to an argument, but the cameraman can never interfere, always doomed to watch. Watching forever, always watching, never doing. Perhaps that's why I don't have the invincibility of a true cameraman. A hybrid. I can see everything, but I'm still mortal. I can still interact with the Firekeeper, Andre. I can kill bosses. Perhaps what I have is what the cameraman has always wanted, but could never have. Well, with the twin princes dead, it's about time for the DLC. Okay, Gael, give me the painting scrap. Wait. If I have full control of the camera in this cutscene, then... What an excellent use of free will. Well, it's been a while since I've set foot in the DLC. Let's hope I'm not rusty. Now, luckily, most of the pathing is pretty simple, allowing somewhat accurate camera movements, although navigating around tight corners still makes me nervous. And the Corvian Knights are still as much of a pain as ever. But with some patience and time, we make our way to Vilheim the Edgelord, who might have been annoying if it weren't for how godly the Greatsword is at PvP in this game. To negate the biggest risks in the next segment, I take the time to kill the wolves and any other enemy that could interrupt me while running. I ignore the two big boys and make a suicide run to unlock Sister Fried's boss fight. And by some miracle, I also make it out alive, although just barely. With that, it's time to fight Sister Fried, which proves to be a nightmare, but you'll see why in a moment. The first phase isn't too difficult, since it's against a small humanoid enemy. You have decent vision on what's going on, and the Greatsword, as we've proven time and time again, is an excellent choice to fight against humanoid enemies due to the massive amount of stagger damage it does. But the real problem arises during phase 2. Besides the difficulty of tracking both of the bosses, Ariandel is one chunky boy. But what's even worse is his pot. To get close enough to hit him, you will probably be hidden or obscured by the pot, making dodging his attacks and knowing where he is a nightmare. Most of the boss fight, I felt like I was effectively blindfolded, because can you tell where the hell I am? I certainly can't. Good luck dodging when you don't know if you're behind him, in front of him, or just off screen somewhere. Let's say you somehow make it to the last phase. Not only will you be low on health from how much you had to tank in second phase, but most of Fried's attacks require good spacing to effectively dodge and punish. I know the spacing quite well, but I'm unable to effectively take advantage of it. There's only one option left. With that over, I buy some supplies and get ready to confront the Dreg Heap. It's a fairly straightforward area, but with how many high falls there are, it takes a bit for the camera to keep up. Of course, we could always increase its speed more, but it would just make it even more uncontrollable. So the best method is to just deal with it. Although try not to make any jumps where you can't see where you're landing. I make sure to eliminate any annoying angels and get to another segment where I need to make a drop. But since I need to avoid taking enough damage from the angel to survive the fall, I need to do it quickly, and I won't be able to see where I'm landing either. So I take the plunge and... success. I was able to judge the drop properly, meaning it's time to do Demon Princes. My camera will arrive at the boss fight anytime now. Anytime. Getting closer. Okay, now I can see. Or can't see. Where am I? This top-down view may not be the best for this fight. Two big chunky boys that we have to get under to hit is a recipe for disaster. So I adjust the camera angle and try my luck with that. Victory. Now let's see what this cutscene looks like. If I could control my camera properly. Why won't you behave? The Ringed City. What a beautiful sight. Another reminder of the beauty of this game if you only take a moment to appreciate it. Well, I suppose we should get through the Ringed City welcome. I see the archers don't care about gravity either. That's a new one. The rest of the run back goes... smooth. About as smooth as a bumpy car ride, but at least there's no crashes. Although Midir does come close to killing me, but I had enough health to live it. I speedrun the fight with Bridge Deer and send him down so I can teach him a lesson. Okay, Midir, you've terrorized people for far too long. It's about time to be put to rest. As you have probably guessed, visibility is a big issue in this fight. Midir takes up a huge portion of the screen, but that's not even the worst part. If you combine that with his speed and his range of attacks, positioning the camera to give you the correct information in time is a nightmare. But Midir is one of the few DLC bosses that I'm confident in no-hitting, and that experience definitely helped with dodging his attacks. And there's not much I can do besides guess the roll timings if I can't see my character or the attack. I guess this is a sign I'm quite far away from beating Dark Souls 3 blindfolded. Maybe someday I'll get around to that. And by the time he was at half health, I was already out of flasks. But all that meant was I simply had to play better. Victory. Now it is time for the fight against Half-Baked, the Spear of the Church. And as always, Greatsword wins against NPC encounters yet again. If you haven't gotten it already, this is my favorite weapon in Dark Souls 3. A bit overused, maybe, but it's a classic, and you can't hate it for that. All that's left is SOC and Little Red Riding Hood. Gael. Most would say he's one of the most fun fights in Dark Souls 3, and it would be hard to disagree with them. It's an excellent 3-phase fight, and perhaps one of my favorite arenas in all of Soulsborne. The problem here being the arena itself is huge. Gael is fast, and because of how difficult he is, not knowing the exact spacing causes me to get hit by attacks I thought were properly spaced, as well as whiff attacks even with the greatsword. It's so difficult that I have trouble even getting past phase 1, and that's the easiest phase. It takes some time, but I eventually get to see the second phase cutscene, and honestly, he looks even cooler out of focus. I love this POV. Now, in second phase, a lot of his attacks can be strafed. I know how to do it properly, but the movement is really messed up from a Freecam POV. I know I've been trying to explain it all run, but it really is just a trippy experience you have to see for yourself to understand. But Gael still proves to be difficult. Time and time again, hit after hit, Gael proves to be my biggest challenge. Every time I think I'm closer to victory, I just get set back. With that, I start developing better strategies. I try to roll even if I don't think I'm close enough, to run before hitting, running away during combo attacks, anything that would increase my chance of survivability. But it's still not enough. You know, there's quite a lot of Estus upgrades I missed, so how about I go and grab some stuff, shall we? With that, we return to Gael, stronger, but it's still not enough. What's required is patience and skill to learn the fight well enough so I don't have to always rely on my vision. Alright, Gael, let's fight. And then we celebrate. I put the ashes on the throne and prepare myself to fight the final boss, the SOC. Although at this point, his fight is nothing to me. Throughout this challenge, I got way better at using Freecam, and slowly, I have become more powerful, as the will of the cameraman flows through me. However, it is not in my nature to merely sit and watch. The fun of the challenge is in figuring it out and doing it. So as this challenge comes to a close, I must learn to lay down the title of Cameraman before the curse takes me completely. Honestly though, I had a lot of fun with this challenge, even if getting through the areas was way more difficult than normal. But with this challenge out of the way, it's about time I do another insane run, shall we? Hey, big thanks to everyone who's joined me on my journey thus far. I wouldn't be able to do much if you guys didn't think my content was enjoyable, and I'm still pursuing and trying to make my content better and better. I think I've gotten my editing to a pretty decent point, but what I'm working on right now is a little bit better voiceovers. I know that They're a bit inconsistent sometimes, so I apologize for that. But let me know if you think that I did the voiceover well in this video, because it helps me improve for the next one. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out my others, it helps out a lot. With that, it's time to start my next insane run. But until I see you there, don't you dare go hollow.